Former NAC workers demand what is rightfully theirs. It's Sunday evening and you're watching Open File with me, your host, Pamela Mate. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Last month, the Namibian police evicted former employees of the Namibia Airports Company houses. The former workers lost most of their belongings and valuables during the forceful eviction, but refused to leave the houses until their pension is paid out. Their pension is now the subject of a legal process, which outcome cannot be predicted. Producer Sophia Hikupembe spoke to the former employees who have been working for the company for almost 20 years.
Blue Camp, situated a stone's throw away from the Hosea Kutako International Airport. This is where former workers of the Namibia Airports Company have been staying since they started working for the company, even before it turned into a parastatal. The scene is one of destruction and uninhabitable conditions. 59-year-old Joseph Peterson has been living here with his wife and 2 children for the past 20 years. He shares his story.
Ik heb 1990 gepechen, de derde van de 12e maand. En ik heb van de government af gewerkt. Toen komen dingen zullen, dat zei jullie, die campagne komt parastatal. En toen de campagne parastatal, ik werk van die tijd af tot last jaar maart, man, die 31 maart. En van die tijd af hebben ze voor ons geretrencht. En toen ze voor ons retrencht, ze hebben gezegd, oké, toen zien ons is beter, toen zie ik het beter voor mij om te gaan, omdat ik nog een jaar voor heb.
So je is nu 59 op je oomlik?
Ik is nu 59 op je oomlik, ja.
The Namibia Airports Company underwent reconstructing last year, giving employees 2 options: to either reapply for positions at a lower salary scale or to take their retrenchment packages. Joseph opted for retrenchment.
Ons moest geretrencht worden, options gegeven. Option 1, option 2. Als jij wil nog werken, je vat die option 1. Als jij wil gaan, je vat option 2. En is hoe dat ons gemaakt heeft. En daarna heeft de later gezegd, oké, de papieren naar JP heeft gestuurd. En JP heeft misschien wel weten. Hij zei die mensen bedankt. Hoe kan je 30 mensen bedanken? Toen wil JPS moest wel weten nou, hoe dit gaat. Toen vraag je weer die papieren van ons, wat JPF is. Toen ons die papieren stuurt, toen zei hij, nee, hier papieren moest niet bedankstory. 30 mensen kan zo bij één tijd bedanken. Hier is moest retrenchment. Is daar waar die story gaat beginnen dat de campagne, hij strijdt over die story. En zei, nee, die story kan niet zo wezen. En hij weet ook niet of dat zo'n rule is. Maar kan mensen nog retrenchen, dan moet hij tot 60 kapitaal worden.
Joseph served the company for 20 years and now feels cheated.
Die hele tijd heb je geld gemaakt. Je moet die mensen betalen. En dat is mensen wat huizen heeft. Dat is mensen wat kenniskool heeft. Dat is mensen wat karen heeft. Bij mensen hebben ze goed verloren. Die hier campagne. Niemand heeft vandaag zijn karen. Niemand heeft vandaag zijn huis niet. Vandaag ik wat nog zo 22 jaar gewerkt. Vandaag wordt zo'n hond. Net zo'n hond weggegaan. Wat heb ik gemaakt? Ik waag mijn geld. En zo snel. Waar leef ik? Van last jaar, die 31 maart, alles is gestopt. Ik pay niet, daar is niks wat aangaan niet. Ik zeg op mijn eigen. Die man wat nou zoveel jaar heeft, zoals ik, moet ik tot nou toe zwaar krijgen. Voor wat? Wat heb ik gemaakt? Omdat ik daar veel jaar gewerkt heb, is dit mijn probleem of is dat die fout of wat is dit? Wat ik wil is mijn geld. Ik weier niks niet om in hier huis te blijven. Mijn optie 2 fout was mijn gedachte dat ik is nog groot genoeg, ik wil mijn eigen leven gaan ran. Voor ik doodga moet ik mijn kennis iets los. Ik heb boggetjes, maar ik kan niet goed daar naartoe vatten. Hoe betaal ik daar iemand wat mij helpt? Hoe? Ek vat mense se kind moet ek vir hom laat honger gaan lê aan 'n kant. Soos ek ook honger lê hierso. Dit werk mos nie so nie. Hulle het oor ons gaan trins, laat hulle ons die geld gee, laat ons gaan. Niemand weier om te gaan nie. Ons wil regtig gaan. Daai opsie toe wees nie, ek het hom nie onnodig gekruis nie. Ek het hom gekruis omdat ek my hele gedagte besluit. Ek het nie papier om nog terug te gaan, want hulle soek kwalifikasies. Waar sal ek 'n kwalifikasie gaan kry? Toe sien ek is beter ek gaan my goedjies ook gaan ran. Nou vandag is ons is honde.
NAC evicted former employees from its housing unit last month. Across the road was where the other workers stayed. Only a few workers who still work at the airport company now live in the houses. They refuse to speak to Openfile, fearing reprisals. Joseph, however, refused to vacate and faced the dire consequences.
Hulle het die krag om afgeset. Nee, ek het nie 'n probleem met hulle se huis mos. Maar jy moet die rede, moet iemand mooi praat en sê my kind, ons wil wat hierso maak. Ons bou huise, ons bou bad, maar nou dis die ding wat ons wil hierdie plek wegvat. Maar jy doen dit nie. Jy praat nie met jou mense nie. Jy kom net met jy kom bulldozer net die mense. My rakkas en my toolbox is gesteel. My 2 jacks is gevat. Moet wat werk ek my goed is? Moet ek nou van vooraf te goed gaan koop wat ek gehad het. Dat 2 kas het my 7,000 gekos. Die toolbox het 3,500 vir my gekos. Nou, daai alle goede, waar moet ek daai goede kry? Omdat ek nie skool het nie of omdat ek nie weet waarna toe moet ek gaan. Moet my hele goed gesegel gemaak word.
Ja, ons sit hom nou daai plat.
Joseph's neighbor, Claudinus Kahere, is in the same predicament. Claudinus worked for the company for 19 years. He has a wife who still works at the NAC and 6 children. The children were taken to the farm after he got retrenched.
Ek voel sleg oor my geld wat ek nog nie gekry nie. Ek is nou 'n jaar en 3 maande wat ek nog nie my geld gekry het nie. Ek moet langer by die huis gaan. Nou ek gaan altyd huis toe en dan moet ek gaan bel word en vergadering en weer terugkom en weer terug gaan. Toe het ek ook laas jaar gaan besluit die ander kinders ek gaan. Hoel en daar so by waar ek bly. Nou die geld van my moet ek nou so los en hier bly. Die vrou moet altyd nog hier so. Ek moet altyd by die vrou kom. Nou wat ek weer hier kom, nou ons kom word die mense, hulle word ook werkers, hulle word weer uitgeset.
Claudinus, like Joseph, thought he would be better off opting for retrenchment. That decision, however, seems to have come back to haunt them.
As hulle net my geld gee, ek sal saam met my kinders gaan bly, laat die vrou as nog in die werk is, hy sal mos kos stuur. Ek strakel ook vir my aan die ander kant, ek is mos 'n man, ek is nie 'n kind nie. Want ek het geen ding wat ek op sy toegevat het. Ek het geen ding hulle sal vir ons onmiddellik na 3 maande ons geld gee. Ons is nou 'n jaar en 3 maande sonder werk. Ons word nie gebetaal nie. Hoe moet ons nou maak? Ons kom altyd as ons kom aan kampanje, ons moet wag. Hoe lang moet ons wag? Hoe lang moet ons wag? Ons is mense wat ons, daar ons, jy weet, die reën het ook nie gereën nie. Ons moet gaan soela met ons diere en daar so. Nou moet ons net strakel oor ons geld.
It's clear that Claudinus has reached the end of his tether. What used to be home for 19 years is no more.
Ek wil laat ek toch huis toe gaan. Jy moet net my geld onmiddellik gee, laat ons gaan. Of laat ek ook my vrou sy geld kry en 'n plek gaan soek. Laat jy vind ook laat ek terug gaan huis toe. Ek is mos nog groot man, ek wil nou na my plek toe gaan en my beeste is nou droogte. Gaan kyk en alles gaan reg kry as die kinders nou van skool afkom, laat jy gaan sien nou, ek is by my huis. Ek het word dit gewerk, nou die geld ek word nie gegee nie.
Adolphine Chipose, the wife of Claudinus, decided to remain with the company, but now finds it difficult to find proper housing with her current salary.
Maar toe het ons geapply weer, ons het gesê ons sal in die werk wees, toe apply ons weer die werk, gaan ons terug werk toe. Daar was ook nie probleem nie, maar die salaris het hulle ook aangetast. Wat ons kan nie bekostig en huise toe gaan koop nie. As die salaris so min is, met wat kan jy bekostig om die huis gaan koop? Is oor dit wat ons hier is.
Adolphine is not happy to remain in this house, but she doesn't have a choice, as she too is waiting for her pension money. The airport's company has switched off electricity supply here as well.
Ek het gaan gevra die manager. Ek het gaan gesê hoekom het julle my krag afgeset, maar ek is nog hier. Ek het nog nie plek gekry nie. Toe het hy gesê julle is net daar. Julle moet enige tyd uitgaan. Maar toe het ek nog gevra, die mense is so wys is en goed het gevra vir hom en gesê, nou hoekom is dit net die Adolphine se krag wat afgeset word? Die ander mense wat nog werk, hulle se krag het nie afgeset nie. Dis klomp mense is nog daar by kan van die polisie en so, maar die krag is nie af nie.
Toe sê hulle wat nou?
Hy het net so hy het net vir ons ook geantwoord en gesê nee, die mense moet net uitgaan, om die uitgaan moet die mense uitgaan.
Adolphine's niece Cindy Houses, who stays with her aunt, feels sorry for her.
Oh, it really touched her so much. I mean, so badly. The thing is that we've been here for at least like 10 years. I've been with her. So it's been like her whole life, I must say. And it's like, no, it's touchable, you know. Like the way they did to us the other time. They just came and, okay, actually they have been sending letters for, 3 times, I might say, since last year. But the people were still, it was like, they are still waiting for the money. Unless they get, if they get the money, they will go.
Cindy shares with us how the situation has affected them.
We are like walking around, fetching, looking for firewood, making fire, because the thing is that they have, the very same day they have switched our electricity off. It's because the name, the name was like, the house was not actually at Adolphine's name, it was at Master Kahari's name. So ever since, of course, since last year, Kahari is also waiting for his money. So they haven't given him. He went back to Pukira, he came back, he's still waiting for the money. So the name was actually unfortunately on his name. So they switched the electricity off, that's what they told us. If the name was at least maybe at her name, if the house was actually at her name, yeah, they should have maybe at least help her, but no. And the thing is that she has to take a bath, cook and eat. Now what we have to do is we have to go fetch for firewood, come cook. What if we don't want to? We'll be like sleeping with hunger.
Elvis Nashilongo is the acting general manager of marketing and corporate communications at the GIPF.
I would like to express our sympathy with the employees of NAC and their family. Secondly, I wish to underline that the payment of pension benefit by any pension fund organization is not just some kind of random activities. It is a process of law, and that is also guided by our own fund rules. Now, we cannot circumvent or change these rules in order to suit a particular employer or a particular circumstance. If we dare do that, our actions will not only be ultra-virus, but will definitely be reckless and prejudicial to the fund and its entire membership.
Olivia Hamwele, the general manager of human resources at the Namibia Airports Company, has a different opinion about the payout of the workers' pension money.
Okay. NAC is not really responsible for the pension payout. So that is basically the role of GIPF. We are the employer and we are the client to GIPF. Now, what has transpired is that when some people decided not to continue working for NAC after following the restructuring, there was a question of interpretation of some rules of GIPF, under which rule the staff members should be settled in terms of pension payout. Now, that particular misunderstanding or disagreement led to a situation whereby now NAC and GIPF decided to take the matter for arbitration.
In terms of the GIPF rules, in the event of any reorganization or restructuring on the part of the employer, if that reorganization is actually resulting in the retrenchment of employees, there are some liabilities that must be shared between the fund and the employer. Now, it so happened that NAC is actually now disputing the application of such particular rule. Because of this liability that is now in the equation, they have decided to question actually whether this rule is being applied correctly. Now, when you do that, of course there will be delay in payment because the employees who are now sitting at home being on retrenchment are not paid or are not adequately paid in this case because NAC is disputing the application of such particular rule.
The NAC former workers feel the arbitration case is dragging. However, they are adamant about wanting to leave these houses. What they want is the money that they are entitled to, their pension money.
It's a question of understanding under different sections of the rules. And that is why even the GIPF rules themselves made provision for arbitration in the case the two parties cannot agree on a particular provision or on a particular rule. And that is what we are doing. So we are not saying that we are right or GIPF is wrong or vice versa. No, we are just saying there's a question of understanding, there's a question of interpretation, and therefore we need a mediation in terms of arbitration.
Ons het gesê as dit so is, gee vir ons die pensioen, die ou pensioen wat ons gewerk van government af tot hierdie tyd toe. Ons doen net die pensioen, dan kan ons gaan en ons plekke gaan soek. Ons weier nie om hier te bly nie. Ons het vir so gaan. Maar tot nou toe, hy's vergadering wat gedoen word. Ons wag tot nou toe.
Workers like Adolphine, who decided to remain at the NAC, are also looking for their pension money. Nashilongo cleared the air.
NAC had actually already moved out of GIPF as at 31st March 2012. Okay? Now, that is a separate matter. In fact, before I even get into the details of that, let me just try to dissect that question into two segments. There is the first segment that deals with the employees of NAC that remained. Okay? Now, in terms of our rules, if these people are not retrenched actually, because if the people remain, there's no way you can pay a retrenchment benefit because these people remained and they are working, still working for NAC. So it will not be logical to pay them out a benefit. In fact, they have not actually claimed the benefit from GIPF as at this point in time. So they are not entitled to any benefit for now.
Workers that are still in the NAC's employment are not happy that they are evicted, while Namibia staff and police staff are still allowed to stay in these houses.
There's a truth in it, but the reasoning that those people are still there is simply because they have specific contracts. And that particular contract will come to an end naturally, and also they have to move. Now, we need to understand the rationale, why we want people to move. The reason why we want people to move is because we would like to work on those houses, to renovate them. Those houses are in a very, very bad state. So they need to be revamped so that they can be rented out for commercial purposes.
The already dark waters have become even more murkier with disputes over worker representation at the airports company. The Namibia Transport and Allied Workers Union claims that most NAC workers have joined the union, despite it not being recognized by the NAC.
There is no really proper engagement with the management of a NAC, of airport company. The reason is known by themselves. We have constantly requesting them to recognize us, even when the most of, let me say, 82% of employees resign from NAPO. We have applied to be recognized in terms of the Labour Act. They have refused. And dubiously, by that time last year, while we were discussing with the Human Resources Department, the CEO stood up and then confirmed that NAPO is serving the majority after they have served NAPO with the notification to say they are no more commanding the required majority in terms of the act and in terms of their collective bargaining agreement. And then just while we are sitting, they've been informed by those who are dealing with the human resources, say NAPO does not have the required number. The CEO stood up and then he sent a letter to NAPO. Now, you don't know who is contradicting who. From that time, we could not really have an access to discuss the issue pertaining to our members.
We cannot engage simply because we have a recognition agreement with the other union. All right. However, they are welcome to give us proof that they represent the 50%. And we will take that and confirm and verify. And that is what we did last year. When they were saying that they represent more than 50% of the members, we did the reconciliation and we found out that it's not true. It was NAPO who was holding 52%.
Labour expert Herbert Joch said it is a pity that the workers are the ones suffering the most in this case.
I think what you see now is like the tragic end of a really sorry story of a group of workers that were supposed to be represented by trade unions, whose interests were supposed to be represented by that union, and who then feel they have now nowhere else to go. They've got nothing left to do since their own union agreed to the so-called restructuring and the accompanying retrenchment, and now feel that they're even losing their house, and as a last resort of defiance, seemingly, then they just refuse to vacate them.
Joseph has lost faith in the NAC.
Manda, laat die wat wil hoor, laat hy sien, hierdie kampan is 'n sleg kampan nou. Ons het die kampan opgeraan, is ons wat die kampan opgebou het. Is ons wat alles daar gemaak het. Vandag is ons wat ons los vir die mense die jam, die mense eet jam, ons moet nie die jam proe nie. Ander men moet die jam kom eet terwyl ek wat hom gemaak het. Wat onregverdig is. Ek sal maar tot daar so staan met. Want die rede waar hier goed trek vir my in my hart.
Joch said workers have now lost interest in their company and also the union that was supposed to represent them. Joch and John Kwede from Natal state that a few lessons can be drawn by the NAC restructuring process.
It shows a level of distrust that they feel like what happened in the last year or so did not instill any confidence in them that they would be treated fairly, that they have no confidence that they would even receive their pension on time. And one must understand that this is a matter of survival for the people concerned. And as I said before, it shows just how poorly that whole, what was called restructuring at the Namibia Airports Company was handled, and how great the prices that some of the staff members are paying now. And I think that's also one of the lessons to be drawn, that we must, as a labour movement, take seriously a mandate. We must represent workers' interests at all times, and not personal interests or other interests at all, and make sure that when tough decisions have to be taken, that might sometimes be the case, but that be done in a fair manner, and that one can avoid unnecessary hardships.
Natal still have a pending case contesting the retrenchment and the restructuring, which is still pending with the Office of Labour Commission. And that is where we have to stand, because we are doing justice. This is government companies, although it's still registered in terms of the Company Act, operating independent, but if the government company is setting that bad example, what is that will prevent a private company to come and they say, no, I'm paying a lot of money now, I'm going to pay everyone off and then I start from the scratch. We are not just to say we are not only protecting the members, we are also protecting the chaotic situation which will be created by these things in these countries. No one wants to pay a lot of money, everyone wants to make profit. So can the government tomorrow going to then point a finger to a private company who comes start up and say, oh, I will actually follow the example of the airport company because they were also paying a lot of money and I want to pay less so that I can make profit.
It would be in the interest of all parties involved that the arbitration process between the GIPF and the NAC come to an amicable solution sooner rather than later. When that would be, only time will tell. But in the meantime, the plight of the affected workers is in limbo.
And that's all the time we had for you on this week's edition of Open File. From me, Pamela Mate, and the rest of the team, it's good night.